The time is just gone 19 minutes past 9 as we continue with news and views this morning, right here on Salam Media. And still to come on the show, we will be focusing on the South African Football Association, SAFA, and like many other institutions and organizations right across the entire country, whether we're talking of government, we're talking of Chapter 9 institutions, we're talking of municipalities, we're talking of sporting bodies, and a common question that is asked is where did the money go? Now, not long ago, I hosted a discussion on cricket South Africa, and again, the question that was asked is what is actually playing out in cricket South Africa, and the response I got is a smaller version of what has been playing out in ESCOM. SAFA now under the spotlight, and soccer being the major sport in South Africa has got the most following, and people that have been running the South African Football Association under the spotlight. And this is the reason why we are talking this morning with investigative journalist at Daily Maverick, Pauli Van Wyk, and she's done some investigation. She has written quite a bit with regard to SAFA and the shenanigans playing out, auditors quitting, and also looking at millions that have been questionable, looking at a bloated executive. How much is being paid to executives? How much is being paid to the players? We know what has happened with Banyana as well, the whole debacle. So all of that playing out, and this is the reason why we are joined this morning by investigative journalist at Daily Maverick, Pauli Van Wyk. Pauli, good morning to you. As always, we appreciate, we thank you for your time.
Good morning. Good to be with you again, and good morning to your listeners.
Yes, Polly, when this article that you wrote in the Daily Maverick clearly caught my eye, and we know sports is used, it's massive in this country as it is right across the entire world. A lot of money actually flowing in, but the key issue here is management, governance, ethical leadership. All of that is important. And also at the end of the day, checks and balances that need to be put into place. And this is the reason why we have audits, we have audit companies as an oversight on what is playing out. And let's just go back, let's take a step back and looking at the investigation that you'd carried out, you had a deeper insight into SAFA and what is playing out. Just what prompted you to take a deeper look into SAFA, Polly?
Over the past year, a number of whistleblowers came to me and said something is wrong at SAFA. And when I started looking at the matter, I could see that there were cause for concern. So I found in the end a number of administrative and financial mismanagement red flags, and I started to write the Yellow Card at SAFA series to ensure that the people of South Africa know what is happening inside SAFA and that we need eyes on where the money goes, but also in the way that SAFA is being managed.
Yes, Polly, and we all know that soccer, the major sport in South Africa, millions of followers, millions of soccer lovers in this country, and clearly they put their faith, they put their confidence into the people that actually run the organization. And just looking at the amount of money that actually flows through organizations, like SAFA, it's huge, it's massive.
Yes, indeed, it's hundreds of millions of rands. And we must first start to tell each other that we have two national teams, Banyana and Bafana. And we pick these very talented players from the same pool of talented players where we pick our national rugby teams, the hockey, the netball, as well as the cricket teams. So we know that our other national teams are doing really well, winning international competitions and World Cups. So what is up with soccer in South Africa, and why is it that we seem to struggle? And if you look at just where you are going with this and the amount of money running through the organizations, just the expenses declared in SAFA's annual financial statement for 2022, SAFA spent 49% of its total expenses, which was around 117 million rand on administration and governance, as opposed to a total of 114 million rand on our national teams, on competitions, and our technical center. So clearly the numbers do not add up. So the administrative issues we must tell about include things like salaries, keeping up SAFA's massive national executive committee of 48 people, despite FIFA, the world soccer body, already telling SAFA in 2012 to make the number less, the number of NEC members, and to ensure that there's not such a big NEC. So the NEC in South Africa is the largest on the continent and one of the largest in the world, and it has a huge salary bill, and that's part of the massive expenses that we see in the expense list. So where the money goes, on the one hand, we can see due to perhaps bad or deliberately maladministration of an NEC that needs to keep management in position. But then we also found traces and red flags where it seems as if the money disappeared. We don't know where the money went. One example is where people inside SAFA and the region's soccer teams complained to me that money that was supposed to come from the National Legacy Trust to these regions and soccer teams just did not end up where it was supposed to. So I think we need a proper forensic investigation to tell us what is happening inside SAFA.
Yes, and also I think when you talk about the amount of money that is actually flowing in, and again, it's not only with SAFA, but we see it with many other institutions. We see this bloated bureaucracy. We see these. For example, trying to justify the number of people that should be serving as executives on SAFA, and you make mention of that in terms of how much money is actually just spent on paying this bloated executive and value for money that we get out of it. And it is not only about the executive, it is about the people, it is about the players that the public, that millions obviously follow. These are their icons, these are their heroes. And we know what had happened with Banyana as well, where, they weren't paid as well. So, and we have now the Women's Soccer World Cup that is taking place. So these are people that these icons that the public look up to, but behind the scenes, when all of this is actually playing out, it just raises so many questions, huge question marks in terms of how organizations like SAFA are actually managed, governed, and run.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look at the fact, it seems as if Banyana is winning competitions despite SAFA, not because of the support they receive. And that Bafana could do so much better if they just had a body that invested in the players and ensured that the players were supported as opposed to what's going on now.
Yes. Now, the whole question surrounding auditors, because this has been also another major issue. We've seen the auditors, and we're talking of a reputable, we're talking of an international audit firm like PwC. They quit not once, but they quit twice.
Yes, absolutely. And this is another example of administrative mismanagement and perhaps even financial mismanagement. What happened is that PwC in 2019 resigned in a formal letter. In their formal letter, they didn't give reasons. They just said that the risk was too much to stay on as the auditor of SAFA. But in private conversations with SAFA insiders, as PwC apparently let it know that they were very uncomfortable with allegations of rape against Danny Jordan. You'll perhaps remember the rape allegations made by former ANC MP Jennifer Ferguson at the time. And then there were other women who made accusations too. Now, the NPA decided to issue a nolle prosequi in that case, deciding that there's not enough evidence to prosecute the case. But PwC said they were uncomfortable with that situation, and they were also perturbed by the 2018 SAFA national elections, where there were bodily accusations or harm coming to some of the presidential candidates, to the point where the single presidential candidate standing against Daniel Don decided to remove himself as a candidate, and then Daniel Don were re-elected as the sole presidential candidate. And PwC just said they weren't comfortable with how things are managed at SAFA. So insiders at the time coerced PwC to stay on. They signed off on that year's annual financial statements, but then decided to resign in 2020 finally.
Yes, Pauli, we're going to put you on hold. I'm just going to go for a quick ad break. And when you come back, there are one or two other issues that I'd like to actually cover. And this includes, I see SAFA had actually issued a statement with regard to yourself, and they've taken note of some of the revelations that you've made in your articles.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
When you give water, you're reaching out to drought-affected areas, bringing them to life. Fresh water to drink, to clean, and to grow. That's the power of water. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
For a long time, we've lived in a centralized world, where institutions held the all-important data and confirmed all transactions. Those times are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain development company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman, so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
Help us ease the hunger burdens of those in need by donating to the SANZAF Meals Project. For just 12 Rand, you can provide a freshly prepared meal to an individual, and with your commitment to a monthly contribution, we can reach out to even more communities and deserving individuals. Call us on 011 834 6046 to learn more about this life-changing initiative. SANZAF, changing lives through development and relief.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
At 9:33 a.m., we continue this morning on News and Views, and our focus is on the South African Football Association. We're talking about articles that have been written by investigative journalists at the Daily Maverick. Pauli Van Wyk, questioning the organization, and more importantly, looking at some of the developments or shenanigans that have been playing out with regard to SAFA and the whole question of auditors resigning, PwC, a reputable audit firm, resigning twice, and huge question marks amongst the bloated executive and the amount of money that he spent on executives. There have also been cases of questionable property deals over, if, in fact, when one looks at how much it was paid in terms of what the property was actually valued at as well. So these are issues that have been playing out. There have been questions surrounding Danny Jordan as well, the whole rape thing that was playing out. So a fair amount taking place within an organization like SAFA. But SAFA obviously has also said that enough is enough. And Polly, just to continue with the discussion, and I've seen the statement dated the 12th of July by SAFA saying that you are on a relentless attempt to smear the reputations of several individuals at the association and saying enough is enough. Now, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, I read that, and the circumstances around that press release from SAFA is that the evening before, I sent new questions to Danny Jordan and Ronnie Schloyo, who's CFO, about the administration of the 2010 FIFA World Cup Legacy Trust. That is a legacy trust that was worth around just under 500 million, half a billion rand. And it seemed that Jordan lied to the National Executive Committee when that legacy trust was closed down. So when I asked him, were you caught in a lie and were you misleading the NEC? They refused to answer my questions, but then issued that press release. So SAFA then accused me of being malicious and biased. They did, however, not, and you can read that press release to your listeners. They don't say for what reason or about what Daily Maverick or either me will be malicious or biased about. They just talk about someone talking about regime change, which I don't know who they refer to there, because we never suggested a regime change. We said a forensic investigation needs to be initiated. Now, the problem here is that what I've highlighted in the Yellow Cards at SAFA series are a matter of fact. It's not a matter of opinion. So no matter how high SAFA and Danny Jordan jump up and down, the facts aren't going away. And any other journalist, if they have the information and if they have the platform, will ask the same question. So to accuse me of being malicious and biased is not going to make the facts go away, in essence. And those facts need to be answered. The questions need to be answered. And in the end, we're talking about the administration and the successful administration of SAFA and why Banyana and Bafana strike, why the money is not going to our national teams, and why the administrative bill and governance bill at SAFA is about half the association's entire expenses. And that is in the end where we are at.
Yes, in fact, I've actually read the press release. I've got it, in fact, right in front of me, and I'm seeing what they're saying, that this is not the first time that she's running such a campaign, as her modus operandi is to run a series of malicious, accusatory, and defamatory stories with little regard to journalistic principles and ethics. And they go on, Polly, to say that she announced to us that she would run a series of stories on SAFA before even writing a single word or with the benefit of interrogating our responses. But they say that your mind already made up, and anything that they said would be secondary to whatever your objectives would be.
Yes, that sounds like all the crooks, all the journalists have written about in the past few years. They come out with their own counter accusations without answering the question. Now, again, it's a pity, but any journalist asking these questions will have the same response. And those questions are not going away. It's a matter of fact, and it's not a matter of opinion here. So they don't have to answer me, but in the end, they'll have to answer to the country, and they'll have to answer to our national team.
Yes, Polly, just looking at obviously the position that SAFA has now taken, and it is clear in their press release, in their statement, that they are not prepared to engage further with you because they said that you're not, independent, objective, and in an unbiased report. And they obviously have made it very, very clear. But looking at yourself, and I'm sure obviously the Daily Maverick and yourself, you've taken up the story. I'm sure many other media houses would have actually taken up the story. And this is the reason why we are doing this interview with you this morning and why we are having this discussion, because this is a matter of a national interest. And I'm sure that by issuing a statement of this sort and saying that they're not going to engage anything, further with you, this story is not going to go away, Polly.
Of course, it's not, because again, this is not something dreamed up by journalists that may be malicious or biased. These are facts that anyone can trace. So if anyone takes the time, they will be able to support what I've written here. And it's very indicative that they don't take me to court for what they say here. They don't say that I've defamed them or that I am wrong. They say that I'm malicious and biased because that's the next best thing without being able to do anything about it, because they will lose in a court case against me. And that is why they take this route. And remember, it's the easiest way out to not answer questions as opposed to saying, well, yes, we didn't pay the money where it was supposed to. Well, yes, our administrative bill is quite high. Well, yes, Bafana Bafana and Banyana Banyana strike, and it's very embarrassing to us. Now, what are they going to say to my questions? Yes, sorry, I lied to the National Executive Committee as Danny Yorton. They cannot place them in a position where they have to acknowledge the facts. And therefore, they make counter accusations and then just refuse on that basis of based counter accusations to not speak anymore. It's very frivolous and it's easy to see through.
Polly, just finally, where to from here?
We are continuing with some of the stories because as we write, more and more people, referees, managers of regional teams, managers of national teams are coming to Daily Maverick and Scorpio to tell their stories. So we will continue with this until we are done, and then we will move on to the next theme.
Well, clearly, this story is not going to go away in a hurry. And, from what you described, that there are more people that are coming out in the open to talk to you. And it's a matter that we certainly will be keeping our eye on. We won't take our eye off the ball. Excuse the pun, for want of a better term. But definitely we will follow up. But for now, we thank you, Polly, for taking time out and talking to us right here on Salam Media this morning. All the best to you.
Thanks, and good day to you and your listeners. Bye.
Bye bye. Pauli Van Wyk, investigative journalist at the Daily Maverick, and uncovering the developments at SAFA, the South African Football Association. And again, the point I want to make, and which I made right at the beginning, sports is huge. It's massive right across the entire world, in South Africa in particular, and especially looking at a sporting code like soccer, massive, millions of people following, but is the governing of sports and soccer in the right hands? I made reference to Cricket South Africa, and we know what had happened a few years ago as well. In fact, cash flush, and there was just so much money within Cricket South Africa, and suddenly, out of the blue, all of that money had suddenly disappeared. And that goes for all sporting codes in South Africa. It is the those that control, and is it just about power? It is about control. It is about people cashing in. Is it? We speak of our government. We speak about a bloated cabinet in South Africa, and are we looking at bloated executives within these organizations, because they just know how popular sport is, just how much money that actually flows through. So this is one issue that's not going to go away, but what SAFA is also saying in their press release is that these issues have been dealt with, answered on numerous occasions of a period of more than a decade. And all of these have been proven to be false and malicious. And we have been advised that the same will be dealt with at the appropriate time in the appropriate forum, should and when the need arise. The question is, when is that appropriate forum going to be available? When is that appropriate time going to take place, so that people can get, and the country and sports lovers, soccer lovers, can get appropriate answers coming out of SAFA? The time is just headed for 9:45 a.m. We're going to go for a break. We come back and we will be talking with the CEO at the Tobacco, Alcohol and Gambling Advisory Action Group, Peter Uko. And questions have been raised with regards to tobacco law, South Africa's tobacco law, and are jobs going to be at risk as a result of this law?
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.